Dr. Harold Shipman was a psychopathic killer who terrorized his patients and shocked the world with his crimes. Shipman, a trusted family doctor, was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of his patients through lethal injections of opioids. Despite his charming demeanor and position of authority, he was a calculated murderer who went undetected for years. In this video, we'll delve into the life and crimes of Dr. Harold Shipman and explore the shocking details of his killing spree. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and prepare to be disturbed by this chilling true crime story. Doctors hold a special place in society as caretakers and healers, trusted to help us when we're at our most vulnerable. However, Dr. Harold Shipman shattered that trust in the most horrific way possible. He didn't just take advantage of his patients, he preyed on them, using his position to become one of the deadliest serial killers in English history. Shipman's modus operandi was chillingly effective. He would diagnose his patients with fake illnesses, then inject them with a lethal dose of diamorphine. For the approximately 250 people who died by his hand between 1975 and 1998, their visit to Harold Shipman's office was their final one, as they were unknowingly walking into a death sentence. Harold Shipman's story is one of a promising young man whose life took a dark and twisted turn. Born in Nottingham, England in 1946, Shipman excelled in school and sports, particularly rugby. But at the tender age of 17, his life was forever changed when his beloved mother, Vera, was diagnosed with lung cancer. As she lay dying in the hospital, Shipman watched closely as the doctor administered morphine to ease her pain. Little did anyone know that this moment would prove to be the catalyst for Shipman's descent into sadistic murder and his signature modus operandi. After his mother's death, Shipman married Primrose May Oxtoby and pursued his studies at Leeds University Medical School. Despite his idyllic family life with Primrose and their 4 children, Shipman's true nature began to emerge. He quickly rose through the ranks as a junior doctor and became a general practitioner at a medical center in West Yorkshire. Harold Shipman had a promising career ahead of him when he graduated from Leeds University Medical School. However, his descent into darkness began with a tragedy that would change the course of his life. Shipman's mother was diagnosed with lung cancer, and while she was in the hospital, he watched as the doctor administered morphine to ease her pain. Experts believe this was the moment that planted the seed for his future murderous actions. Shipman went on to marry and have children, and from the outside, his life seemed normal. However, his addiction to opioids would eventually catch up with him. In 1976, he was caught forging prescriptions for Demerol and was fired from his job as a junior doctor. After attending a rehabilitation clinic, he was able to return to work at Donnybrook Medical Centre in Hyde. For the next 15 years, Shipman would continue his medical career, developing a reputation as a kind and caring physician. However, unknown to his patients and community, he was secretly killing them with diamorphine. Shipman's first victim was 70-year-old Eva Lyons, whom he killed with a lethal dose of the drug the day before her birthday. Despite being caught forging prescriptions and fired from his job, Shipman was not removed from the General Medical Council, but instead, he received a warning letter. Harold Shipman's downfall came from the most unlikely of sources, the forgery of a will. In June 1998, Kathleen Grundy, a wealthy 81-year-old former mayoress, was found dead in her home. It was ruled as a stroke, but her daughter, Angela Woodruff, believed that something was off about the circumstances surrounding her mother's death. Shipman had visited Grundy on the day she died, and Woodruff found it strange that her mother had left everything to the doctor in her will. She contacted the police, and an exhumation was carried out. The results showed that Kathleen Grundy had not died of natural causes, but had been injected with a lethal dose of diamorphine. The investigation that followed revealed the extent of Shipman's crimes. He was arrested and charged with 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery. In January 2000, he was found guilty of all charges and sentenced to life imprisonment. The trial concluded that he had killed at least 215 of his patients, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in history. Shipman's crimes shattered the trust between doctors and patients, and his case highlighted the systemic failures in the healthcare system that had allowed him to continue his reign of terror for so long. It seemed that fate had handed Harold Shipman a lucky break. Despite the growing suspicions and concerns of those around him, the police investigation into his activities failed to uncover the truth. Shipman was able to evade justice and continue with his deadly work. With each new victim, he became bolder and more brazen, sure that he was invincible. It was as if he had become addicted to killing, unable to control his urge to take the lives of those he was meant to be helping. The true extent of his atrocities would only come to light years later, when the full horror of what he had done was finally revealed. But for now, Shipman continued to operate with impunity, confident that he would never be caught. It was the ultimate mistake for Dr. Harold Shipman, a mistake that finally exposed him to the world for the deadly monster he truly was. For years, he had successfully hidden his sickening crimes of administering lethal doses of diamorphine to his unsuspecting patients. But in 1998, Shipman's arrogance and greed got the best of him. He targeted his victim, 81-year-old Kathleen Grundy, a former mayor of his town of Hyde, with his usual lethal dose. But this time, he went a step further and forged her will, leaving everything to himself. Little did he know that this would be his downfall. Grundy's daughter, Angela Woodruff, became suspicious of the will and notified the police. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered the unimaginable horrors of Shipman's killing spree. The house of cards that was Dr. Harold Shipman's criminal empire finally came crashing down with the discovery of one forged will. After years of covering his tracks and avoiding suspicion, the doctor made a critical mistake when he tried to alter the will of 81-year-old Kathleen Grundy, one of his many victims. But even then, it took the sharp eye of Grundy's daughter, Angela Woodruff, to unravel the truth. The more she looked into the situation, the more suspicious it seemed. Why would her mother leave everything to her doctor, and in such a fake will? Her gut feeling led her to the police, who then exhumed Grundy's body and found evidence of diamorphine in her tissues. The dominoes started falling one after another, with 11 more bodies being exhumed and a computer search revealing false entries by Shipman to support his fake causes of death. Despite his efforts to throw the police off the scent by claiming Grundy was a drug addict, it was clear that the good doctor was anything but. Harold Shipman's shocking crimes rocked the world, and it was a shock that took a long time to unravel. Despite being caught forging prescriptions for Demerol in 1976, the young doctor was able to continue practicing medicine, secretly murdering his patients for decades. Shipman always targeted the vulnerable, with his oldest victim being 93-year-old Ann Cooper and the youngest just 41 years old. His method of killing never changed, administering a lethal dose of diamorphine and watching his victims die or sending them home to perish. It's believed that he killed 71 patients at the Donnybrook Medical Centre and the rest while operating his one-man practice. In 1998, his reign of terror was finally exposed when he made the mistake of forging the will of his victim, former Mayor Kathleen Grundy. This led to the exhumation of Grundy's body, which revealed the presence of diamorphine. As a result, Shipman was arrested, and further investigations uncovered 14 other cases where he had committed similar crimes. Despite overwhelming evidence, Shipman denied the murders and refused to cooperate with the police or criminal psychiatrists. Ultimately, he was only charged with 15 murders, but it's believed that he may have killed as many as 450 people. Dr. Harold Shipman's name will forever be associated with one of the most prolific and ruthless killing sprees in modern history. After being sentenced to life in prison with the recommendation that he never be released, Shipman ended up in Wakefield Prison, where he ultimately took his own life. But why did he do it? What led this man to kill so many patients in his care? Theories abound about his motives, but one thing is certain: Shipman was a master manipulator who carefully crafted his image as a caring, trustworthy doctor. Some suggest that his desire to kill may have been rooted in childhood trauma, while others speculate that he was motivated by a God complex. Whatever the reason, there is no denying the sheer scale of his crimes. Shipman's victims numbered in the hundreds, and his methods were both ruthless and consistent. He would target the most vulnerable members of society and administer a lethal dose of diamorphine, often watching as they took their last breath. In the end, Shipman's reign of terror was brought to an end by the diligence of his victims' families and the authorities, who finally caught up with him. While his death may have closed the book on his crimes, the scars he left behind are still felt by the many families who lost loved ones to his murderous tendencies. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.